map for our game. It's a 1v1 map, and when we get in, I'll show you to you. It's a little bit more complicated than some of our previous maps. It's got a lot of strategic options. It seems very, very simple at first, but quickly you'll realize how many choices there are moving across the map.
So on Steps of War, up in the top right corner of the screen, we do have Pan Shung. We're going to call him Pan, just to help us out there a little bit. Pan playing the red Protoss in the top right corner of the map, and all the way across the map in the bottom left corner, Beckham as the blue Protoss, a Protoss mirror. Yeah, this should be a really interesting game. There's a lot of interesting strategic choices in a Protoss versus Protoss map. We often see Stalkers getting a lot of power in this map because you can use them to kite Zealots. We also see a lot of the air units have a lot of viability in this map, so we'll see what happens. As we move across the map, we can see there's a narrow choke point leading out of your base. It's a little bit far away from your main base, but still, it's a great place to defend. This leads down to a natural expansion, which both players should be looking to exploit as they play the game. Out of the natural expansion, there is a wider choke, but a choke nonetheless you can use to protect your natural expansion, and there's these line of sight blockers you can use to hide your force from enemy attackers and ambush them as they approach your map. Very important in a Protoss mirror match where Zealots really need to get up close. Using those line of sight blockers can really save you a lot of trouble. And all of these features on any StarCraft 2 map are always going to be mirrored, so we again see the line of sight blockers, the wider choke, into a natural, into a smaller choke, back over into the enemy's base. Both these players so far have begun with a, obviously, starting build order. They both have a pylon down. They've both started their first gateway, continuing to pump probes.
So this is the natural lane we showed you, the main lane of battle, where most of the action, at least for the first part of the game, is likely to occur. As we move into the later parts of the game, there are some branches off to the sides that players can exploit. Additional resource paths, rocks that can be destroyed, watchtowers that can be grabbed. We can see a little bit of raiding going on here as the red Protoss move in, as Pan moves in. He's managed to grab a mineral, adding insult to injury, and he runs off with just a few minerals just to sort of taunt his opponent.
Oh, but he's coming back. I guess he wants a little more. Beckham's not going to be too happy with that. He's trying to harass that probe, but the probe's just going to make it away. He's taking his 5 minerals with him. Later, says Pan, I'm out. So over here we can see, Beckham's tried going for a raid, but he hasn't been so successful. Hasn't gotten his own 5 minerals to steal from Pan quite yet.
Right. So you see these probes are moving around the map, scouting the place out. There are some watchtowers. Looks like that one probe is going for the watchtower. As 2 ships pass in the night, the Zealots close against each other and start beating on one another. Looks like it's about an even fight right now. Here comes a probe to help him out. He gets in one extra hit, and it's just enough to get the kill. A small game, but it could be critical later in the game. Now Protoss can regenerate his shields, and he can get back into the action. These players, hopefully, will be so evenly matched that may make a real difference. Here he comes, pushing into battle. Takes out a worker. A good hit as he backs up away from those workers, trying to buy some more time
he doesn't
for
want to
the
lose
regeneration on his Protoss Zealot.
Yeah, so he keeps moving Zealot away just enough so that only has 1 HP left. They're just barely getting a little bit of shield back, now bringing in an additional Zealot to give him a little backup. We can see that right now Beckham is really scrambling to defend his base.
Right, just trying to kind of keep in the game at this point. If he manages to get through that position, he can really be in a lot of trouble. Even 2 Zealots at this point in the back of the line against those workers could cause a lot of damage. So he's got to be very careful. He's got to stay in the game. You can see now he's moving to try to block that choke off, protect himself from this continued aggression from Pan.
So Beckham, meanwhile, has gone for the cybernetics core, as I was hovering over briefly. He's also started building a Stalker. Stalker's going to be very strong in any PvP mirror match because of how fast they move and the fact that they deal range damage. Yeah, and here comes the Stalker. He can use this to kite against these Zealots. The Zealots are a little bit in trouble now. And all the Stalker has to do is shoot and move, hit and back up, and there's not a lot that the Zealots can do. They can keep chasing him, but they are slower until Zealot Charge comes online, and that's later in the game. There's not a lot the Zealot can do against the Stalker. If you can force the Stalker to fight, if you can put him in a position where he has to hold his ground in battle, the Zealot will absolutely win. But that's why micro is so important in StarCraft 2. You can really get a lot more value out of your units if you use them correctly. It looks like the robotics facility is going down there. We saw what Matt Gocher did in the last game with that robotics facility. This could be a real threat in this game. So they have gone for different tech goals. As you can see, it looked like Beckham was going for that Twilight Council. Very possible that he's going to research Blink for his Stalkers and have massive Stalkers out on the field. Whereas over here, it looks like either Pan could be going for just having an observer on the field, or also going for, as you said, Colossus.
Yeah, so the Twilight Council is a critical building for the Protoss. It opens up lots of choices, in addition to getting access to all kinds of upgrades. And here we come pushing in, trying to get some damage off. You can see he's trying to pick off that Zealot at the front rank. He's trying to get the damage in. His Zealot is safe in the back. Well, that frontline Zealot is just taking a beating. Another Stalker's going to come in. That will help him out in this coming battle. But the Twilight Council gives you access to a lot of upgrades. It also gives you access. It's a gateway building. It gives you access to other technologies. It gives you access to High Templar, Dark Templar, all kinds of choices.
Now, Pan has been a very sneaky player, as I was just trying to show you. He has built a proxy pylon. This is something that you probably haven't seen quite yet, but obviously it's very, very possible. Because of warp gates, you're able to build a pylon anywhere and warp in additional reinforcements to literally any position on the battlefield. We do have a slight melee going on in here, and Pan does lose his Zealot. He is forced to retreat. He may lose another Stalker. He may be able to also get out of there just barely living thanks to those line-of-sight blockers. Oh, and he's running up back to his pylon. Beckham has no idea that pylon is there, so that means that Pan's going to be able to warp in more and more Stalkers.
Yeah, that's a huge advantage from him, that pylon there. It means his entire economy of his base is focused on that position. You can see the high ground there. He couldn't see up the high ground, so he got hit without knowing the threat. He's got an observer in play. That's just what he needs. The observer is cloaked. It can't be seen, and that's going to give him the vision he needs to spot those Stalkers. This choke point is not going to be the advantage that he needs it to be defending this base. That observer is going to give him all the vision he needs to engage against Beckham.
Seeing folks firing micro everywhere. Now we see that Pan is forced to retreat. He doesn't want to quite go all in just yet. Meanwhile, Beckham is trying to delay for as long as he can. He was working on his Dark Shrine, so we are likely going to see some DTs come into play. But Pan does already have an observer out on the field.
What a shame. Those DTs could be the turning point in the game. What he doesn't know is there's an observer who can spot them floating directly overhead. Those DTs are not in the best position right now. He thinks he's going to win. He thinks he's got a huge advantage. Little does he realize there's an observer right overhead watching every action, and the Dark Templar are cut down like chaff, just immediately destroyed. A huge tech advantage immediately lost by a clever use of an observer.
So now Beckham is going for his force, probably going to try to get a couple of, what am I trying to say? A couple of his ground weapons upgraded.
Right.
Couple of upgrades.
Right.
There's the term. So Beckham still does have a couple of Stalkers. Looking like he's also going to be putting down a pylon and possibly establishing a natural expansion.
There's the blink. Using the observer, he spots up the high ground, and the Stalkers just blink right up to the high ground to make the surprise attack. That's not what Beckham wanted. He was cut off from retreating to his base, and now he's in a lot of trouble. They're just powering through. Pan's just pushing against him. There's not a lot. He needs to get more forces on the battlefield here. Immortals would be a great choice right now to stop all of these Stalkers. Zealots with charge. There's another blink, using it to chase off those other Stalkers. There's choices he's got. The question is, can he get the technology onto the battlefield in time to save himself?
Far too much focus fire from Pan. Also, that blink was a great surprise because he did still have the observer in play, able to get it right up the cliff. Again, right here, he's also still going to continue being able to fire up close. He does have line of sight up here. Folks firing down Beckham's units. It's not looking good for Beckham at this point in the game.
You see that great micro by Pan. He fired a single shot at that wounded Zealot and picked it off. Oh, warping into battle. Not a great idea. You can pick off the units as they warp in. You really want to warp into a safe place. It's one of the weaknesses of warp in. He made a little mistake there. Oh, there's the blink. Moving directly away, right into the peon stream, moving right against those probes, just tearing the place to pieces. It's looking really, really bad at this point for Beckham. The workers desperately trying to counterattack. They can do some damage, but the minerals are getting in their way, and he's just taking a pounding.
Oh, so there we can see, as soon as Beckham gets us around on one of Pan's Stalkers, he's just blinking them out of the fray, and Beckham calls the GG.
There is the GG.
So we got exactly what you wanted. Got a couple of pro players out here to play some Starcraft 2 for all of you at home. I'm going to say thank you again, Dustin, for joining us. So again, thank you to all of you at home, all of you in the audience that bared with us for those large delays. Thanks for watching BlizzCon.
Enjoy the rest of BlizzCon.